The leading cultivator of the Dark Court was the leader of the throne of the underworld, who had descended upon the Heavenly Mandate Academy back then. The leading cultivator of the Dark Court was the leader of the throne of the underworld, who had descended upon the Heavenly Mandate Academy back then. Around him were various top figures. However, the person who stood closest to him was a young man. The eyes of this young man were glistening with dark light. His gaze was fixed on Princess Dong Huang. He had always been wanting to meet this daughter of Dong Huang the Great in person. She seemed even more charming in person compared to portraits of her. Her peerless temperament was something that a portrait could not capture. Qi Yi meets Princess Dong Huang. This youth greeted Princess Dong Huang while bowing slightly. I have long heard of Princess fame. I have admired Princess for a long time. Finally, my wish to meet Princess is granted today. Princess is even more graceful than I have imagined. I have fallen in love with Princess at first sight. Qi Yi. The people around Princess Dong Huang instantly knew who this youth was when they heard his name. There were 7 kings of darkness in the Dark Court. Each king groomed a successor to take over their throne in the future. These 7 successors were crowned proud sons of darkness. They were the heirs of the 7 kings. If they fell, their positions would be replaced by another cultivator. Each and every proud son of darkness was chosen after rounds of extremely cruel selections. Their abilities were very powerful, and were recognized by the 7 kings. Their status in the Dark Court was also very high. This Qi Yi was the heir of the Lord of the Underworld. He was the proud son of the Underworld. Even so, his status still paled into insignificance as compared to that of the daughter of Dong Huang the Great. Hence, he showed some manners in front of her. However, people around Princess Dong Huang still frowned when they heard him say that he admired the princess. Clearly, the audience disdained him, fell in love with the princess at first sight. Even if he was the proud son of the underworld, he was still unworthy of her. Princess Dong Huang cast an indifferent glance at Qi Yi. She didn't respond to his greeting. A divine general, who stood behind her, wore divine armor, and was surrounded by a brilliant divine light, which cast away the darkness. He looked at the Lord of the Underworld and said, "In the past, the Dark Court had been defeated. The Void Realm is currently under the rule of the Divine Prefecture. Now the Dark Court has gone against our agreement. Are you trying to stir up a war? In the past, we had indeed agreed to close the passageway. However, the gate of hell has been opened by the cultivators from the original realm." The Lord of the Underworld replied. "Hence, the original agreement has been broken. The original realm no longer belongs to the Divine Prefecture." Extremely sharp dark divine light shot out from Qi Yi's eyes in the direction of Princess Dong Huang. He took a step forward. However, another silhouette blocked him. It was the Tianxin Academy's peerless proud son of heaven, Jian Qingzhu. Jian Qingzhu was not trying to win Princess Dong Huang's good graces. He was already shouldering some responsibilities. This was his mission. Now that the clan had placed all their hopes on him, he naturally had to work hard to bear these responsibilities. Everything was going well for the clan when passing on teachings in the Void Realm. As for the clan's goal of wanting to return to the Divine Prefecture, he would be the one to achieve it. He would bring his clan and their mission to the Divine Prefecture. Qi Yi swept an indifferent glance at him. Another silhouette also appeared in front of Jian Qingzhu. This silhouette was jet black from head to toe with a burly, domineering figure. It seemed to be clad in dark armor and was imposing. Destructive dark light flowed on the divine armor. Just looking at it gave people an extremely pressured feeling. This was a member of a very powerful dark force of the dark world. They had special talents and were very powerful. This silhouette charged directly at Jian Qingzhu. Jet black light swept across the space like a bolt of divine light. He punched out. An endless jet black light descended from the sky. It covered the space and pierced through everything, crashing towards Jian Qingzhu's figure. Jian Qingzhu was expressionless. An extremely dazzling scroll of the Great Path suddenly flew out from his body, shining brightly. Divine light circled around him. The scroll of the Great Path resonated with the heavens and the earth. Its light shone for tens of thousands of zhang. The golden divine light instantly blocked out the sky and the sun. This scroll of the Great Path was the divine wheel that Jian Qingzhu had forged. Its divine light was flawless and lit up countless patterns. Immediately, this part of the sky was enveloped in the halo emanated by the scroll of the Great Path. Jian Qingzhu was surrounded by the halo too. He extended his palm, and a gigantic golden palm print was unleashed. In the scroll of the Great Path, countless huge golden palm prints covered the space and stuck forward. They were domineering and similar to the giant palm of Buddha. Rumble! Two forces collided. The huge golden palm print crushed the dark light. Jian Qingzhu managed to fully block the opponent's menacing attack in an instant. This scene caused many people to reveal surprised expressions. Everyone in the 9 realms knew that Yi Futian was very powerful. On the contrary, even though Jian Qingzhu had great fame too, he had never participated in any battles after proving his way. He had been training devotedly. Now he impressed the crowd with only one attack. The power of his attack was definitely very overbearing. It was as though he wanted to tear Jian Qingzhu apart. Jian Qingzhu formed a seal with both his hands when he sensed the domineering power from the other party. Waves of light patterns surged forward. The light patterns actually felt like huge shock waves. It was a power faintly similar to the war god's true will of waves. The light patterns continually slapped against the opponent's body, impeding his menacing momentum. Circles of light wheels appeared in the scroll of the Great Path. These light wheels interweaved and resonated with each other, emitting streaks of light beams. The light beams were similar to lightning, but they were much thicker in size. Streaks of terrifying lightning flashed in the sky, even though it was broad daylight. A dooming will of destruction permeated the space. Everything along the path where the white light passed was blasted into dust. Each and every light wheel shot out a beam of white light at the same time. The beams were focused in one direction. When Jian Qingzhu gestured out a mudra with both his hands, the beam of light intensified. The audience who were observing the battle from below sensed the strength of the power. A dazzling divine light flooded the battlefield, making it hard for the rest to see Jian Qingzhu clearly. They could only figure out what was happening on the battlefield through their will. At this moment, even the proud son of the underworld looked at Jian Qingzhu. The former revealed a surprised expression. This cultivator was strong. It seemed like the original realm still managed to give birth to a few monstrous figures. Jian Qingzhu floated in midair. His finger pointed downwards. Immediately, the beams of divine light focused on the same spot. They transformed into a white beam that could pierce through the heavens and earth, and slashed down without hesitation. Rumble! A thud sounded. The white beam hit the opponent's jet-black divine armor. In an instant, the body hidden under the armor was wrapped in white light, as the cultivator looked like he had been struck by a horrifying attack. At the same time, cracking sounds could be heard. The jet-black armor cracked and turned into dust. Bang! The domineering cultivator of the Dark Court was sent flying backward. A hideous, bloody hole could be seen on his body. He retreated to his clan immediately. He surrounded his body with dark light to control the bleeding. The way was hidden in the scroll. Impressed, everyone looked at Jian Qingzhu. He was yet another monstrous figure. However, because he was Jian Qingzhu, the cultivators of the 9 realms were somewhat mentally prepared and could accept it. After all, before he had proven his way, Jian Qingzhu was already more or less considered the most monstrous figure of this generation in the Central Emperor realm. It was just that back then, he had yet to cross paths with others, so he could only be considered one of the most monstrous. Will of destruction spread out within the space and emanated a heavy pressure. It was as though this space had become the dark world. Behind Qi Yi, in the darkness, an illusion of the underworld faintly appeared. It was as though it was the true underworld. It made many people feel despair. Within the dark world, there were countless black holes. From these round black holes, spears of the underworld appeared. Each spear emanated frightening destructive pressure. Jian Qingzhu's expression was serious. He took a stance, and his scroll of the Great Path shone even more brilliantly. White divine light emanated from it, seemingly countering his opponent's black holes of the underworld. A frenzied destructive storm swept up. It rampaged over the battlefield where the two of them stood. It was absolutely terrifying. "Go forth," Qi Yi uttered. As soon as he spoke, all the spears sprang out of the black holes of the underworld. They were as fast as lightning. Their speed was unbelievable as they went straight for Jian Qingzhu's body. Beams of dazzling white lightning shot out from Jian Qingzhu's scroll of the Great Path. The white beams and the spears collided. Instantly, black and white intertwined, and an even more menacing destructive storm erupted. The white beams were everywhere, while the dark spears attacked with great momentum. Moreover, the black holes were still spitting out spears of the underworld continuously. The glint of a malicious smile flashed past in Qi Ye's eyes while his attacks continued to descend on his opponent. He seemed to be mocking Jian Qingzhu. Huh. Yi Futian frowned. Something didn't feel right. Be careful, the college chief of the Tianqian Academy cried. Jian Qingzhu seemed to have noticed something too. The scroll of the Great Path unleashed a divine light. A brilliant light shroud protected his body. He ceased countering Qi Ye's attack. Instead, he aimed to defend himself now. In that instant, among the storm that was surging around his body, a formless flow of air was suddenly released. It had neither form nor shadow, and seemed to merge completely into the darkness. Others could not catch sight of it with their vision nor with their wills. It was an invisible attack. Rumble. Jian Qingzhu's body seemed to have been hit. However, the attack seemed to have been blocked by his defenses. Yet after that, rumbling sounds could be heard continuously. Jian Qingzhu's figure was knocked backward. Yi Futian revealed a very frightening gaze. His eyes seemed to be able to pierce through the void. In his mind, he saw that Jian Qingzhu was already buried by the spears of the underworld. The attack that was hidden within the darkness seemed to be formless and could not be guarded against. At that moment, the black holes in the dark world also frenziedly shot out spears of the underworld that shot towards Jian Qingzhu. In the blink of an eye, his entire person was buried within the spears. They brought darkness everywhere they went and left no light. The cultivators of Yue Divine Palace were furious when they saw all this, but the powerful standing up in the air remained calm. Although there was fury in their hearts, they would not let it influence the situation. This was what the world of cultivators was like. It was just that such fierce fighting had not happened in the 9 realms in too long. But several centuries ago, a slaughter like this would not have been out of the ordinary. People everywhere would have been plunged into an abyss of misery. In the previous internal disputes of the Divine Prefecture, there had been rules. The realms under Princess Donghuang could be constrained, but the Dark World would not be so compliant with their invasion. This was not at all like a battle between 2 armies. It was a slaughter. Words paled before a slaughter like this. They would have no meaning. Thus, no one asked for mercy, and none was given. Everyone attack. But do not be overzealous in your fighting, ordered the palace lord of Yue Divine Palace. The opposing army had come to destroy them. In this situation, it would be suicide to fight them with all their might. None of them would survive it. Today they would all try to escape. Thus, she had ordered them to fight their way out. Protect the goddess. Her eyes fell upon Changxi, and a mighty aura burst forth from her. Suddenly, the vast area around her turned extremely cold and filled with dark, icy power. A full moon appeared behind her. Moonlight fell upon the army of the Dark Court. Suddenly, many of them were covered in frost. They had been frozen by great path ice seals. At the same time, destructive attacks burst forth under the moonlight, smashing into the icy area. Many of the frozen figures were shattered and killed. More and more people were dying every moment. It was a horrifying scene. The Lord of the Underworld cast his gaze over his opponent. An underworld spear appeared in one of the terrible black vortexes. He stepped forward, and endless airflows of destruction and death swept out from the spear, shooting towards the full moon. Everywhere it went, death swept through the crowds of people. Many people were covered by the death will and died instantly. Several great figures stepped out beside him, walking towards the great figures of Yue Divine Palace. Behind Yue Divine Palace, several cultivators were taking Changxi away, but they were being pursued. Get her. I want her alive, said the Lord of the Underworld, looking at Changxi. She was a remarkable woman, beautiful and talented, and she was the goddess of Yue Divine Palace. He could leave her alive. Changxi went pale. Under the dark sky, all of Yue Divine Palace was covered by death will. It was like the god of death had descended upon them. All the ancient halls and palaces crumbled and were destroyed. They had no way to stop the invasion of the Dark Army.